How do we create a community where people can create health? There's a sense here of connection, of meaning and purpose. There's a sense of calm in the city. You're mesmerized that you've moved into a place where everything seems to be in order. What I'm excited about being here in Copenhagen is bikes everywhere, people running around, having fun, this calmness, this beauty. What they've done is intentionally design through architecture the environment so that it's conducive to a behavior that supports health and well-being. I definitely think it's why this is one of the healthiest places on the planet. Denmark is a great example of a country that's prioritized the things that are important. Life here isn't restrictive. It's prescriptive. Well, I'm a critical care physician by trade. I left that 20 plus years ago because I realized I was reacting to disease. And what I'm about is helping people learn over 20 years of experience how to create lifelong transformation.
Looking at the whole of the human, not just repairing what is broken, are the principles.
I always had a desire to be a physician, and went into it because I love to help people too. I went into a new specialty, critical care. It was actually taking care of the whole person, and this is kind of the start of my philosophy, is that an integrated human that's being looked at as a whole versus as parts. And in my training, I studied with cardiologists and pulmonologists and nephrologists, all these different specialties. And in the intensive care unit, that particular doctor would be looking at the patient from that particular angle, but not looking at the whole person. So I actually helped pioneer critical care, which is a specialty where we look at the whole patient, took care of the whole patient, all the organ systems and how they work. So I did that for 20 years and helped a lot of people, kept them from dying, but I never helped anybody get healthy. I had young children, 3-month and 3-year-olds. My wife, we worked really hard, and I could see that I wasn't home for them. One night, 2 in the morning, I was doing an open heart operation, and I got called to the emergency room. They had a drug addict that came in and basically was seizing, and because they had used up all their veins, they couldn't get an IV. So they knew that I was very capable of doing that and an expert in that area. So I went down and put a line inside the heart so they could do it. And while I was doing that, one of the nurses accidentally pricked through my glove with a person that was at high risk for hepatitis C, AIDS. And I remember driving home thinking, I want to never see my kids again. And it just kind of hit me that it's time. It's time to move upstream, to have more time for my family, and help the world, help people get healthy. I remember when I wrote the first Habits of Health back in 2008, it was released. The habits of health and their 6 macro habits are all about giving someone the lifestyle change necessary so they can now negotiate through this highly chaotic world full of obesogenic food, sedentary lifestyle, a lot of stress, poor sleep, and now they can now take control of their health and their life. The real goal is to awaken people and then give them little micro habits, little teachable moments that they can do daily. Little things that by themselves don't make that much difference, but over time make all the difference in the world. So the habits of health now are the 6 macro habits, or the 6 key areas in our life that help you change your lifestyle. I actually wrote The Habits Health, the first version, and talked about longevity and centenarians, people that lived over 100. One of the key determinants of whether someone starts to age and their health span starts to degrade or not is what's their attitude? How do they look at life? How do they get up in the morning? And Jasper's a great example. Hi, Jasper. Great to meet you, Dr. A.
How are you? Mr. A?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine.
Good. Let's sit
Yeah.
and have a little
Thank
chat.
you. Yeah, that's good. That's great. I really enjoy life, and I live slow. I take my time. What is very important is to taste life, to smell life, to feel life, and it means you take your time when you are here or there or somewhere else. You take your time where you are.
You know, living long and staying young is about two things: being curious and want to learn and grow. Those are the two key ingredients that keep us so we don't age.
Yes.
I think you and I have that in common.
Yeah.
What I love about you is that you've been biking now for 50 plus years. Or is that right? Yeah, and as soon as I came into the city, that's the first thing that's apparent. You have dedicated bike paths that are actually raised curbs. And everybody's riding bikes.
It's beautiful.
Wonderful.
And you get happy every morning you get out there.
So, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
This is my first time here. Would you honor me with going biking with me?
It's cool.
Yeah. It's cool?
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
Should we do it now?
Shall we do it? Yeah.
Okay. We take a bike trip.
Okay.
Biking, it's very organic. And of course, it's also a practical thing. I mean, you go from one place to another, but why shouldn't you enjoy going from one place to another? It's a kind of meditation as well.
I'm all about intrinsic motivation. I don't want to tell people to do something. I want to awaken them to find whatever their passion is in their life and then do that daily. Because if we're passionate about something, it takes very little motivation. Something we value really highly, we want to do naturally and we want to do more of it. I mean, I saw that in Jasper. I mean, he loves getting on that bike and we're negotiating, going through all these people on the bridge and he's just having a ball and I see this big beaming smile. And then we stopped over and we're looking across the water and he's talking about the library of Copenhagen. And there's a sense of national pride. There's a sense of connection there. And that's a sense that in the United States, we really need to foster. Tell me about why this is such an incredible place.
I think it's because it's a beautiful city and it's not too big and it's not too small. There's still, after 50 years, there's so many corners, so many things you still have to see.
Are you appreciative of life? Do you love being alive? Do you love interacting with other people? Are you curious to learn what you don't know? And do you want to grow? If you stay in that state, you have the opportunity to live a long time in a healthy state. Our technology has isolated us, gotten us to the point where we're lonely. More people are lonely than ever before. They say that 40% of people in major cities are lonely. That community, that connection, being together is more important than ever. So I'm here with Nick Johnson, president of OPTAVIA. Nick, welcome to Copenhagen.
Thank you.
For me, it's very personal because Andersen, SCN, as I've been saying for years, father's from Denmark, but I've never been here.
No.
And so I was excited. We talked about maybe coming sometime together, and we're finally here. We're here together.
No, it is remarkable because I do remember the first time meeting and talking and saying, yeah, I just relocated after being here in Copenhagen for years. And you said, oh my gosh, like this is a place that my family comes from. I'd like to visit sometime. And that's amazing. 7 years later, here we are. When I moved here, I'll never forget, I was not permanently located here yet, so I was staying in a hotel. And at the hotel, it was just by the canal. It was in July, and it was amazing. I stepped outside of the hotel. The sun came out. There wasn't anybody on the canal, but suddenly, like, people just showed up at the canal. People were sunbathing, swimming, jumping. There was a pop-up DJ. And I went and walked around just this scene that just happened, right? And I saw how they were enjoying their time together. They weren't just sitting there enjoying, they were moving their bodies, they were jumping in, they're swimming, the food that they were eating, the choices they were making, all of the things were incredible. And I had just spent time in the United States. And due to my meeting schedules, I would go back and forth between the States and Denmark, and I would see the difference. And it was really that constant comparison of like, what is going on? And why is it so difficult to be healthy in the American society versus a place that is really structured around building a healthy lifestyle like Denmark?
Yeah.
And so it was incredible to see and juxtapose that difference. And when I was approached to become the president of OPTAVIA, and I saw what you had created, it was like, yes, this makes sense. This is a vehicle for change. This is a vehicle and a program designed for real life, that you can actually make healthy choices and it doesn't have to be so difficult.
No, I love that. And just tell me how the difference of living here, how much easier it was to stay healthy. I mean, you obviously keep yourself in great shape. Did this environment make it easier?
It 100% did. And that's one of the remarkable things that you talk about in the Habits of Health all the time, is like your surroundings. And you talk all the time about the underlying structure. And as you know, I'm a huge, huge proponent of the underlying structure of your life. What is that default mode in your life that either takes you down the path of improving health or improving disease, which is not what we want. And ultimately, it came down to what people around me, my neighbors, our friendships, all those people valuing health.
Yeah.
And it made it easy.
One of the big misconceptions is that people that are overweight or obese are lazy. They're not lazy. They want so much to be healthy. They just don't know how to do it. And their biological design, the world they live in, there's such contrast that it's very hard to create optimal health and well-being in the world we live in. We know the continuum that being overweight or obese puts you at high risk for disease, even if right now you're not experiencing that. The weight we have depends on where it is. We need to have fat. Fat's an important organ in our body. Creates hormones, creates storage, it's a storage depot. But visceral fat around our organs is really unhealthy. It creates inflammation, creates metabolic syndrome, creates all these things that are very, very bad for us. So we want to be specific when we talk about helping people manage their weight. Most of the earlier medicines that were used to help people lose weight were not very effective. Their cost-benefit ratio was high. They didn't work well and had lots of side effects. Well, just recently, over the last couple of years, we've taken some diabetic medicines and been able to evolve them, where now they're effective. And they're actually not just necessarily effective at helping people lose weight, but at appetite suppression. And I look at them as being the antidote to living in an obesogenic world where processed food seems to dominate. And so this can kind of decrease the food noise and give a lot of people that are highly addicted to processed food an opportunity to now create health in their life. So there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to using these medications so we can get you off them. You know, you may not need them even in the beginning, but if you do, let's make sure we go in with eyes wide open. You know, people are actually using those medications now, going to their doctor, getting a shot, and thinking the shot can do everything for them. And nothing can be further than the truth. So what we're about and what I'm about is helping people learn how to create lifelong transformation, and doing that in a way where the medications are just a tool that hopefully in a relatively short period of time, they'll be able to come off. So the GLP-1 drugs are new to the scene. And when I left critical care 20 plus years ago, I actually moved away from using medicines at all and looked at lifestyle. Well, they've come on the scene the last couple of years, and we're now looking at them as being a powerful tool to help us change people's health and life. And as you said, one of our choices that has not been changed that much structurally is the food industry. We still have a world that's full of processed food. And so these drugs represent an opportunity to give people at least an antidote, almost like a shot that doesn't make them so susceptible to the addictive qualities.
Anybody who is choosing to go on a GLP-1 medication, medically supported weight loss in general, I think that's a great thing for the following reason. They're raising their hand saying, I need to do something.
Absolutely.
And that's great because they're open to change. They're open to start to transform. Now, they're given a tool. Do they know how to use the tool? Do they know there are other tools that will be needed in order for them to ultimately do it on their own? And that's where we come in. And we are perfectly designed to complement somebody who is on a GLP-1 medication, because guess what? Every single one of those GLP-1 medications is prescribed with, I mean, you're the doctor, proper diet, nutrition, exercise,
Habits of health.
modification, habits of health. Because those people have raised their hand, they said, I need to do something. This might be the solution for me. And we come in and say, it's a tool.
Yeah.
And there are many tools, but ultimately it's about building the habits that will build your lifestyle, and that lifestyle can become second nature.
The habits of health and their 6 macro habits are all about giving someone the lifestyle change necessary so they can now negotiate through this highly chaotic world full of obesogenic food, sedentary lifestyle, a lot of stress, poor sleep, and now they can now take control of their health and their life. So all the habits are designed to be interactive with each other. They create a halo effect, and when you work on one, it helps the others as well, because you're starting to put your brain in a situation where it's doing repetitive actions. So they're all conducive to each other, and we do them in little baby steps. And we start with the ones that create the biggest amount of change, which is weight management, losing weight. Because people really see when you lose weight in a relatively short period of time, safely of course, everything changes in your life. People look at you differently, you feel different, you can move easier, you have less discomfort, you sleep better, your stress level goes down. So that's a really important one to start with. But without the other 5 macro habits, the chances of long-term success are unlikely. Weight management, the key part is eating healthy, whole foods. If people are eating whole foods, they basically naturally become satisfied because just the volume it takes, and actually they're eating less calories. And there's some great studies that support that. If you're eating processed food that looks like whole food versus whole food, you'll eat on average about 400 or 500 calories more. And because the food has a different effect on your hormones and raises our insulin, we get insulin sensitivity, hypersensitivity, and pretty soon insulin isn't working as well, and we need more food because our body is sensing that it's not going into the cells. So we've created metabolic derangement as a result of eating all this processed food. So when you eat healthy, whole food, your body naturally lowers its insulin, hunger goes down, the hormones work naturally like they're supposed to, and everything goes back to normal. It's so really nice being here, Simon.
Yeah, welcome to Denmark.
Yeah. Where are we going now?
So we're going to a local market just over here, and we're going to have a look at some of the produce they've got out. So over here we've got, various seasonal goods right now. We even have this handy little plaque up here that
cool.
kind of, divides the year into like quarters, and it shows you what's in season. So you can see we've got different kinds of root vegetables. We've got some carrots down here, we've got some celery root, and we've got radishes down here, for example, which you could use them as a garnish on an open-faced sandwich, but it's also something you commonly see in a kid's lunchbox. I used to get these actually a lot as a kid.
Have people really accepted in Denmark? Are they eating these seasonal vegetables?
It is getting to be quite, common that people do. People have different reasons for why they do it. For a lot of people, it's about cost. If it's in season, it's usually cheaper. But also, there are a lot of people who care about the environment as well. So they want to eat green in more sense than one. And therefore, they will go for something like this.
I love it. That's really good. God, it's so beautiful and so natural. And if we can make things healthy for people where it's not as expensive, well, that makes sense.
I think that's the way to get people to, naturally gravitate towards that, because otherwise, if it's seen as too expensive, it becomes inaccessible to people.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems we have in the U.S. is that we have so much processed food. And we process the food because we want it to be last, right?
Yeah.
So it lasts the seasons, it's cheap. So when we asked them to make more food, we forgot to ask them to make it healthy. This is so different, and it's really neat.
In the US, there is definitely like a sweeter palate, I would say. It's not only foods you would expect to be sweet, like, desserts, cake, ice cream, and those kinds of things, but there definitely is more sugar in the food in the States in general. Whereas here, I think people tend to value the natural flavor of the ingredients a bit more. Because the ingredients are essentially not, heavily seasoned with spices and things like that, you'll want to use something that's at its best when you do, so that the flavor of the ingredients can really kind of shine on their own. The only kind of general exception to the rule would be, heavily fermented or pickled things, where you would gather things earlier in the year and you would eat them throughout winter. So now we're going to head over to restaurant Far, which means father or dad in Danish. Supposedly as an homage to the fathers of the guys who founded this place and fathers in general. So let's go inside.
Awesome, sounds great. Hi, Tor, great meeting you.
Hey, Dr. Ray, nice to meet you too.
Boy, this looks awesome.
This is some of the things we have on the menu right now. Basically, all the items change except of one item. So, or like sort of vegetable charcuterie.
Oh, but no cheese.
No cheese. No.
Or salami, right?
It's all vegan as well.
All vegan.
Yeah, we don't work vegan normally. We just do it if it makes sense, which means right now we actually have a fully vegan menu.
Got it.
This is different types of vegetables preserved in different ways. This is confit pak choi, which is fermented melon radishes. Then it's salt, pickled and brined fennel, and pickled yellow beets with some sprouts on the side.
And this is fermented?
Yeah, it's fermented.
That's great. That's great for gut health. Yeah. So you use mostly seasonal ingredients?
All seasonal.
All seasonal.
All seasonal, all local, all vegetarian. We harvest most of our stuff as well ourselves. So a lot of the things you've seen here, I plucked myself out of the ground.
Wow, that's amazing. So you usually start here?
You always start here.
Always start here.
This is like a starter. It's also like maybe a way of setting like a mood. Like we only work with vegetables, and then it's also a way of seeing something in different light, how vegetables can actually be preserved and worked with in different ways.
Boy, it looks really good. And it's nice with all the flavors, you don't need as much. We have a tendency in the United States to use high fructose corn syrup and all these things that are really bland. And so you eat more to feel like you're full. Here, you're eating things that are full of such nutrients. They're so nutrient dense and full of all the biologicals that make it really easy for us to be satisfied, and it makes it a lot different. So no wonder you guys are so healthy.
The new Nordic food movement, and it was a movement where chefs in this part of the world wanted to essentially revitalize Nordic food. They wanted to sort of reinvent it for the modern audience, and they essentially agreed on a few key points that they wanted to work on, one of them being to use seasonal, locally available ingredients. Some would even say ideally from within 30 to 50 kilometers of the place that the food is being served. If you're going to basically be tasting the ingredient and little else aside from maybe some salt, you'll want the ingredient to be at the best that it can possibly be. And I think that's one of the reasons why chefs who work within the new Nordic kitchen focus very much on, getting good seasonal ingredients where they can really allow those flavors to shine.
Normally start with acidic,
Okay.
because the acidics kind of cleanse your palate. So you have the acidity and a little bit of sweetness. This is fermented soybeans and chili. Then there's a chili crisp on top.
It's delicious. And you know, when you eat acidic things in the beginning, it really kind of coats the environment in the stomach, so it really decreases the glycemic index. In other words, the amount of glucose that's released, which stabilizes so important because in the United States we eat way too many things that are full of sugar, released quickly, and then our insulin goes up. And as you know, over 100 million Americans have metabolic syndrome. So it's a major issue. And I could see why the Danes are so healthy, because you start off and do the things in the right order. Protect your gut health, use acidic things to minimize glucose uptake. It's incredible. They're so good. What I love about being here in Denmark is the food is actually in its natural construct. And when it's natural like that, it's harder for the body to digest it, which slows down the glucose level, and it's the natural way our body was designed. In the habits of healthy sleeping, I've designed choice architecture. What do you need to do to your bedroom? What are the things that are critical for a great sleep?
Getting your blood sugar regulated and keeping it regulated during the day will greatly impact your sleep. My name is Laurie Canadell. I'm the founder of the Sleep Institute. We sleep 30% of our lives, but it affects 100% of our lives. It basically affects every single other aspect of our lives.
80 million Americans don't sleep well. And most of them because they're taking their issues to bed with them and they're sitting here ruminating all night long about these things.
Everything that we do is in one way or another connected or even determined based on how we sleep. We know, for instance, that when we don't sleep enough or if we don't sleep good enough, we eat about 30% more calories the following day. We know that when we don't sleep enough, our cognitive functions, our performance really falls. So it's incredibly important for us to get that right. Creating an architecture, I call it a protocol that ensures good quality rest, really starts with, I call them the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. hours. So what you do during those hours are very important for the way you sleep. If we see it like the sun rising, right, we need to sort of have our activity level rising with the sun. But as the sun goes down, our activity level needs to go down as well. That goes for food consumption, that goes for exercise, that goes for work. So sort of high input lifestyle, low input lifestyle when the sun goes down. Try to sort of live more according to the sun. I think that's a very healthy and sort of intuitive way of living. At least that's what we see from research.
So Laura, one of the things that intrigues me, I mean, first of all, I love being here. You know, my family's from here. But one thing that just stands out is something that's I've always been adverse is getting cold water.
It's a great tradition that we learned from the Finnish people, saunas and cold plunges. So going to the sauna first, really getting your body temperature up, and then going in the ice cold water, winter bathing. Basically, that's what it's called. And it has really taken off and it's become something that a lot of us do. And it's good for our health. It's good to be exposed to heat and it's good to be exposed to this cool plunge. It's good for metabolism, brown fat. It's good for our sleep. So I'm really happy that this has become so engraved in our culture.
And you do it every day?
I do it every single morning.
Wow. I mean, we went down and stood by the water,
right.
And it was cold. And
Yes.
I thought, I just can't see going from cold to cold. But then you told me,
Yes.
you get in the sauna,
Go in the
heat
sauna
yourself
first,
up, get
right.
your core up, and then you went. Now that autonomic storm, that sympathetic, that epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, you feel it right away, you were saying.
Right away, I feel like my dopamine is just going through the roof and it is beautiful. It's almost like you get this high and it stays with you for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I will even say that it's good with pain management. For me, if I have a migraine or a headache, the second I go in the water, it goes away. It's like if I've taken medicine.
If you had let's say an hour
Right.
before you actually hit the mattress, right? What do you do in that hour?
Yeah. So obviously for me, being so focused on my sleep, I'm quite rigid. I have a very strict routine. I go completely analog and I do stuff to clear my head. So one of the things, especially for women, we have a lot of mental load, right? We have all these things that we need to do and prepare for the next day. I like to clear my
All the clutter.
all the
things that
clutter.
you might have.
That's exactly what it is. It's basically clearing out the stuff that I'm going to be thinking about in bed before falling asleep. Oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to do that. Clear it all out. So when I wake up the next morning, it's a fresh new day. So I get all that stuff out. Everything analog. I dim all my lights. I take a quick shower and I go to bed and I open a book. That's it.
Yeah.
All analog.
I love that.
Yeah.
So let's just say you do have one of those nights, because we all have them, where 2 o'clock in the morning, you wake up. Okay. Do you sit there in bed trying to force it, or do you get out and start again?
I believe in rituals and routines. Your bed is your sacred place for sleeping. It's not a place where you feel sleep anxiety, meaning you toss and turn, get anxious about why you don't sleep. Why am I not sleeping? That's not the ritual you should have there. So if you struggle with sleep more than 10 minutes, get up in darkness, no turning on lights,
Right.
walk around, go to your sofa, sit there, bore yourself out of your mind. After 10 minutes, try again. Never have your bed be a place where you're frustrated, irritable, anxious about why you're not falling asleep. It has to be a sacred place. So always get up.
One of the things that I teach in the Habits of Health is that all the halo effect of all the macro habits, all the things, whether it's what you're eating, how you sleep, how you handle stress, your surroundings, your healthy mind, all those things work together.
Right.
If you want to have a prescription for life, what would you say that would include?
Right. I think sleep should be the baseline because, as I mentioned before, if you sleep well, you will make better and healthier and more rational decisions in terms of your health. And if you make those decisions, you sleep better. So it becomes this flywheel of better sleep means healthier choices, which means better sleep, which means healthier choices. So it becomes a sort of healthy circle of life.
Most of us have an occupation. We get up, we go to work. During the work part of the day, we may not have control of ourselves. But in the morning and in the evening, we have control. When it comes to sleep, that is absolutely critical. So I call it the twilight hour, which is the hour before we go to sleep. And then we have the early morning ritual, getting up in the morning and starting our day correctly. So in both those periods, if you frame that around knowing that you need 8 hours of sleep, that's awesome. We have control over that. So if we have to do things or get up early in the morning, then we should go to sleep earlier. And so we need to be the chief architect of our own health and life. And sleep is one of the fundamentals.
If we can focus on all the good habits which improve our sleep, the rest will follow. I really strongly believe this. It will make us eat fewer calories, will help us make healthier choices because our blood sugar will be more regulated. It will make us energetic enough to participate in communities and give back as well, which we know actually makes us one of the most important things in terms of us living a long and happy life is being a part of this community. If you're tired, you just simply don't have the energy to participate in a sports club, in a sauna club, in whatever community activity. Don't have the energy. So get the baseline right, get your sleep right, and the rest will follow.
Yeah. And one of the things that's essential, that we feel like we're connected to others. And so for me, I know that as I move forward, being able to create that community, that connection with the people I'm around, with the people I meet, with family, that's what we're all about. This is where our father and great-grandfather came from. Isn't that cool?
Really cool.
Yeah, and so, I've been here a couple days and got to explore the eating and the bikes, all the bikes
I
moving.
know, it's insane.
Insane,
Even walking
isn't it?
here, they're
Yeah.
everywhere. It's like a whole car lane just for bikes.
Yeah, don't you feel like it's just a different environment than in the States where,
Yeah.
where you grew up?
For sure.
Yeah. Choice architecture is about changing your environment. And we're here in Denmark, and it's everywhere around. I mean, it's so obvious to me. The Danish people just live this way. They're born this way. They grow up in this environment. They ride bikes everywhere. There's a specific architecture designed to the roads here where there's a curved bike path, not just a line on the road where you could get whacked by a car, a raised bike path that's its own independent roadway for biking. Man, of course you're going to use that. You know, the average child in the United States spends 8 minutes a day outside. We become an indoor species. And all these things are counter to what creates optimal health and well-being. You know, one of the great things that's naturally, and I see it in Europe, it's so different than the way we've actually rearranged life in the United States. After they eat a meal, they go for a walk. And just by doing that, getting up just for a few moments and moving, it basically helps your body not just digest your food, but actually at the cellular level, allow yourself to lower your glucose and put yourself in a better position. So movement becomes critical. In fact, if exercise could be put in the pill, it would be the most prescribed pill ever because it's critical, not just for everyday life, but for longevity. It's probably the most important single determinant whether you live longer in a healthier state.
We walked from the hotel here, 20 minutes easy, but you're surrounded by such beautiful architecture and the structure of things, it makes you want to be outside walking rather than in a car. Like, it's weird to have a car.
Don't you feel more alive?
Yeah, I was even telling Nick, like, I feel like I'm romanticizing the gray, but I actually like love Europe so much.
Great, it's awesome. Yeah, great. I'm glad you're here. I can't wait to have you back in the States.
And I'm so proud of you for this and what you're doing here.
Thanks, appreciate that.
Recommend for everybody to get out in nature, spend that time, create the space. And I sense that here in Denmark. There's a love for life, this appreciation of that connection. It's really a connection that there's more than just us. There's a sense of calm. Definitely think it's why this is one of the healthiest places on the planet.
So I think about how second nature it is to be healthy in an environment like this, where the underlying structure is built around health so that those choices become more automatic. From a health perspective, we have to take action now. The problem will not get corrected until we give people the underlying structure that they need in their lives so that decisions become automatic.
I mean, I know this stuff. I help create this stuff. I teach this stuff. I experience it. It's harder in the States. And so how do we make it easier?
Think about just your experience here in the last few days, right? Think about that. You think about, okay, well, the city could be designed for everybody to bike, and that their morning commute is about, bike, moving their body, all those things. You can make all of those things easy, but you have to have participation. I believe that it comes down to it's normal. It's common.
Right.
It's convenient. And this is one of the reasons why I love this country so much that we're in now at Denmark. And this is why I love the community OPTAVIA so much. We make a healthy lifestyle second nature.
Yeah.
And it truly is designed for real life.
Life's winds may push us off course, and the ways may get rough. But with the support of a healthy community and ingrained habits of health, we can steady the ship and make lasting, lifelong changes. Like breath itself, in time, it becomes second nature. A quiet, prescriptive rhythm we can live by. Copenhagen and Denmark is a great example of a country that's prioritized the things that are important. But the reality is, if we work together, we can bring people and do what we've done here, what the Danish have done, and create that in the United States in many more ways. So one of the great things about OPTAVIA that I'm really proud that I was one of the chief architects when we started it was asking the question, how do we create a community where people can create health? As I mentioned, underlying structure is very important. So what we did is we actually helped people start working on themselves to create better health and well-being for themselves, and then reach out and help others. What's really cool, the community connects us. It gives us that meaning and purpose, and people really care about each other. And one of the things that's essential, that we feel like we're connected to others. So the OPTAVIA community is designed around like-minded people coming together and helping each other in terms of their health and their well-being. The wonderful thing about the habits of health, the macro habits, is they're available to everybody. My hope for people is, as they watch this film, that they realize that they can do this. It allows them to make it so simple that over time they can change their health. Join a community, join a health network, and put yourself in a situation where around like-minded people that appreciate, organize their life around what matters most, and allow you to become the dominant force in your own life.